Jessii Vee. Doesn't this shirt give you like Halloween vibes and fall vibes? I don't know about you guys, but I wish I could just skip forward and go to September and October, my favorite times of year. Anyways though, as you can tell by the title of today's video, we're going to be talking about popsicles. Yes, I know that's really random, but trust me guys, I found so many creepy things that have to do with popsicles, including the red one. You may never eat the red one again after this video. Before I get started though, I do have a couple reminders. The first one is that we are halfway sold out of the back to school mystery boxes. They've only been out for like 2 days and they're going so quickly, so if you guys would like one, I've linked it down below. They are filled with so many new awesome things. My absolute favorite thing in the box is the octocorns, because each different one is scented. They're scented. They literally make any room you put them in smell beautiful. And then we also have notebooks, we have pop sockets, we have bookmarks, we have artsy mints, we have sea-themed hair ties, we have posters. I mean, the list goes on. Everything in this box is so amazing, so if you would like one, I have linked it down below. The next thing is that this is the last day to enter to win this backdrop behind me. If you would like to win it, all you have to do is be subscribed to this channel, my Jessii Vee channel, turn on your notification bell, and then head over to my Instagram. It is Jessii Vee, give it a follow, and send me a DM telling me what you would name your enchanted forest. You have one more day to do this. And then lastly, I just want to let you know that this coming week, I'm going to be posting a strawberry shortcake video to my member section. So if you want to be a member of this channel, all you have to do is press the join button. I'll be posting extra content over there, and this week's video is the creepy stuff about strawberry shortcake. I will also link that member join button down below. So a lot of stuff. Sorry to overwhelm you, but with that, let's get into today's video about popsicles. Now, as usual, I start off talking about the history of these very favorite snacks. Now, popsicles were invented back in 1905, and it was actually an accident. There was this 11-year-old boy named Frank Epperson, and he left a cup filled with powdered soda, water, and a stirring stick on the front porch of his house one day. That night, it was super cold, and the low temperatures actually caused that cup and that mixture to freeze. And when he walked out of his house the next morning, he was really surprised to see what he had created. That's when a summertime staple was born, and today 2 billion popsicles are sold every year. And then in 1923, when he was 29 years old, Frank Epperson started selling them at a California park. Except the interesting thing is that he first called them Epsicles, which was obviously a play on his last name. But his children called them Popsicles, which actually persuaded him to change the name, and then it was just Popsicle, as we all know today. Just a few years after the dessert debuted, the double stick popsicle was introduced. It was at the height of the Depression, and the single pop with 2 sticks allowed 2 hungry children to share a popsicle easily for the same price as a single. So like I said, 2 billion popsicles are sold every single year. They are still a very popular treat, especially in the summer. And apparently the world's favorite flavor is cherry. So comment down below which flavor is your favorite. I think mine is honestly like banana, which I feel like is a very unpopular opinion. And my second favorite flavor is probably orange. I feel like those are like the 2 least popular flavors. Okay, so let's get into our first creepypasta. This one is about Stick Stickly, which I know sounds super weird. Stick Stickly was the mascot for Nickelodeon in the mid-1990s. He is a popsicle stick with googly eyes, a yellow jelly bean nose, and a small mouth, and he's voiced by Paul Christie. Now, this was a very strange character back in the 90s, and he had this segment on TV called You Dip, where viewers would literally pick a substance that he would have to be dipped in. It was apparently just this super bizarre thing to watch because people were picking what he should be like drowning in, whether it was like melted cheese, ketchup, paint, anything people desired, and they would watch him be like dunked in these fluids. His character was supposed to be really funny, and the goal was to make kids laugh, but there was this rumor going around that he had much darker origins than what people had thought. Some people think that he's somehow connected to Candle Cove, and if you have no idea what that is, I've done a whole video on that, so pause this one, go watch that one, come back to this one. But it's basically this lost show that some people believe exists and some people don't. Now, this person who started this whole creepypasta rumor about Stick Stickly said that one day they stumbled upon a Nickelodeon fan site with a section dedicated to Stick. And on this website, they showed this picture of the Stick Stickly prototype before before he was ever on TV. And the site also contained a series of undated videos that he called lost tapes. The first lost tape was actually called First Ever Stick Stickly Appearance, and it reveals a simplified version of the host. He's described as having smaller, non-moving eyes, no nose, and instead of a goofy grin, his mouth is merely a straight line. It was very strange seeing him like this because he looked super unfinished and weird, but in this first lost tape, nothing scary happens. It's not until the second one, titled Stick Gets Injured. He is revealed to be a bit worn, dirty, and splintered as he explains how the neighbor's dog keeps trying to bury him in the backyard. He talks about how he was able to escape, and that's how this episode ends. And then there's another episode called Hangman. This is a lost episode where Stick is trying to help this kid play a game of Hangman. I'm sure you guys all know what that game is. I feel like everyone played that as a kid. But in this game, the hanged man is played by Stick. Now, the kid ends up failing to figure out what this word is on the board, and I'm sure you can imagine what happened to Stick next whenever you lose the hangman game. It does not go well for the hangman. Stick's eyes gets replaced with 2-letter X's to signify death, and he stays that way for roughly half a minute, and then suddenly he turns back to normal, starts laughing, and winks at the kid. But that's not even the creepiest part of this whole segment. The word on the chalkboard, which the child failed to complete, was C with a missing space, N-D-L-E. So obviously it was meant to say candle. So why was Stick Stickly trying to make this kid figure out that it was Candle Cove? Why is he associated with that creepy lost show? Then the next lost episode was called Stick Quits. Apparently it was just super bizarre and unsettling. He's ranting about how he feels super disrespected, he wants to quit his job, and he's claiming that nobody cares about him anymore. His monologue is suddenly interrupted by this little kid who lets him know that everything he's feeling is wrong and that people still care about him, and that's how that episode ends. Then there's an episode called Stick Gets Mad. It has no sound, the video quality is severely degraded, Stick can be seen shaking and quivering, and his normally flat mouth is turned downward into a harsh frown. He appears to be yelling at this little girl, and she looks really afraid. And then finally the girl escapes and he's left staring at the camera super angry. And then the very last tape is called The Winner Revealed. It contains sound again, but it's super distorted, and Stick appears to be injured in a different way with streaks of crimson paint across his face and one eye replaced with an X. And that's literally the whole episode, just him looking like that. And that is the end of everything that I was able to find on this, but it's so creepy because Stick Stickly was a real character on Nickelodeon in the 90s, and people really think that these lost tapes do exist and are confused why he's connected with Candle Cove. Anyways, I'm sorry if that was super confusing, because I'm kind of confused too. Anyways, the last creepypasta I want to tell you is called The Red Popsicle, which was obviously the title of today's video. This story came out in 2016, and it's actually a pretty lengthy creepypasta, so I'm sort of going to be more summing it up for you, making the story a little bit quicker. But if you want to read the full thing, I do encourage you to go and read that on your own time. But it's about this little 4-year-old girl named Lily that is begging her mother to have a popsicle. So the mother walked over to the freezer and looked inside and asked her daughter what color she wanted. She told her mother that she wanted one of the red ones. In fact, she said that she needed one of the red ones. But the mother looked through the box and wasn't able to find any. So she told her she needed to pick a different color. But the girl shook her head and said that she only wanted one of the red ones. So the mother made a deal with her and said if she finished all of her dinner that night, her father would pick up some red popsicles on the way home from work. The mother made shrimp and mashed potatoes for dinner, which was always her daughter's favorite, but she just kept mentioning those red popsicles over and over again. She ended up not eating any of her food, and her mother was super confused because she could literally hear her daughter's stomach growling, like she sounded extremely hungry. She put her daughter to bed that night, and as she walked out of the room, she could hear her daughter crying. She wasn't sure if it was because of the hunger or the disappointment, but the mother ended up dozing off on the couch waiting for her husband to come home, and she suddenly awoke when she heard the door to the basement shut extremely loudly. So she thought her husband was home, and she called down the stairs to see if he was down there, but there was no answer. She started to hear this pattering of feet down in the basement, and she honestly thought it must have been an animal that had gotten into the house. house. So she went down there and she was startled to see her daughter Lily standing in the darkness. She could literally only see her silhouette. Her nightgown was streaked in red and there were these glass shards around her feet. She was holding something red in her dainty little fingers and she had her head tilted slightly as she lifted it to her lips. The mother's heart stopped because she knew what her daughter was holding. It was a vial of blood. They had decided to keep them in a small cooler in their basement for emergency situations, for identification and such purposes if anything should ever happen to them.
Mama.
Her voice was gurgling and unrecognizable. It was like it was Lily, but it also wasn't her at the same time.
I found the red popsicles.
And that's how the story ends. So I think that this daughter like turned into like a vampire or some sort of other creature, because the story talks about how it looked like her daughter, but it did not sound like her daughter. It sounded like she had like a deeper, creepier monster voice. And the whole time she wanted those red popsicles, she was actually talking about the blood vials. So that's lovely. Anyway, so guys, that is the end of today's video. If you have any other creepy popsicle stuff you want to talk about, definitely put it down below. But don't forget, if you would like the back to school mystery box, there's only half left. I have linked it down below. And if you want to join this channel to see the strawberry shortcake video coming this week, definitely do so. But I love you guys so much and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Bye!